From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes. Brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. And Wally, there was no room for us on the fairgrounds for the Minnesota State Fair, so 10K Takes on
in the studio
will not be an option for fairgoers. We're here, but we're still going to talk about sports. There's a lot to get into.
Yes, there is.
We're closing in on the start of the NFL season.
NFL regular season. We've had our share. Yeah, we've had our share of counterfeit football. I guess I've been ready for the regular season since last January. I mean, the preseason football does nothing for me. Obviously, it didn't do anything for J.J. McCarthy. He's going to be out for a while, the Vikings rookie quarterback. But when you look at their schedule, which will be the first time they will be favored in a football game? And I was just looking at this. Okay, so they open up at the New York Giants. I'm figuring on the road, they're probably not going to be favored. They come home to the 49ers. They're definitely not going to be favored against the 49ers, nor will they or should they be favored against the Texans. Pretty good team last year with C.J. Stroud leading the way there. And then they go to Green Bay. You're not going to be favored in Green Bay unless the Packers somehow go 0-3. And then they play the Jets in London. Maybe that'll be their chance, depending on whether Aaron Rodgers is healthy or not.
Yeah, and that's going to depend on each team's records going into that game.
Sure.
I mean, as you project, it's dangerous to project in the NFL. It is literally a week-to-week league, but I can't imagine they're favored at the New York Giants. I would think
I got them 0-4, man.
Push.
I got them 0-4.
They really need to beat the Giants and get out of the gate with a win on opening day, because if you remember last season, what happened? They dug a deep hole and they couldn't get out of it. They lost a lot of early games, and it was just too much to try to climb out of this bottom of the Grand Canyon. That's where they found themselves.
Right.
So, but the Giants are thinking the same thing. Hey, this is a chance for us to start 1-0. The Giants were a disappointment last season. The year before, they knocked Minnesota out in the playoffs. I think Viking fans remember that latest chapter of Purple Pain. So, because if you don't beat the Giants, San Francisco is going to come in here and they will not overlook Minnesota, because last year on a Monday night, the Vikings thoroughly whipped the 49ers, who were on their way to becoming the NFC champions and very close to winning a Super Bowl.
But are the Vikings the same team they were a year ago?
No, I don't think so. And
they don't have Kirk Cousins.
No, and I think the 49ers are still – they're one of the top 4 teams in the NFL, in my opinion. But they know the dangers of coming into Minneapolis and playing, against the Vikings. So they won't overlook Minnesota. And then Houston, you laid it out. I think the Houston Texans, if they continue to – trend up, they're going to be very good. They've got C.J. Stroud. They've got Danielle Hunter.
That's right.
So he comes back to the house of noise. And he should get cheered, by the way.
I completely agree.
Boo him once the game starts, but when he runs out the tunnel, cheer him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then they go to Green Bay. Green Bay is going to be battling Detroit for the division title. And by the way, so you mentioned the Jets in London. Well, then after that, they come home to play the Detroit Lions. Rumor has it the Lions were pretty good. They were close to going to the Super Bowl. Well, did I just say that?
It's hard to believe. They're like the Timberwolves. They're now a trendy team, and rightfully so. They made huge strides last season. I mean, their real hiccup was in the NFC Championship game when Dan Campbell, their head coach, got over aggressive. I mean, he flat out got just too confident. And but he'll learn from that too. And this is a good Lions team, no doubt about it.
Kick field goals and punt, man.
Especially on the road against a 49er team at Levi's.
Kick field goals and punt.
Yes,
kick field goals and
They
punts.
had the 49ers on the ropes, and San Francisco was about ready to go down, and they got new life. That's really what happened.
We saw what analytics has done to baseball. Don't let it do it to you in football, man.
Well, and I like the way Campbell coaches in a game. He does go for it on fourth down a lot, and all that's great, but it's knowing the situation, knowing the stakes. It's the NFC title game. You need points.
Yeah, no question. What is your main concern about this 2024 Viking squad?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's the secondary. We are in an NFL now where it's a lot of teams put up these cartoon-like numbers on a weekly basis. It's a passing league, and if you can't stop the pass, you're in trouble. And they're thin at cornerback.
Very thin.
The tragic loss of Kyrie Jackson, who was going to be in the rotation. Mekhi Blackman, entering his second year out of USC, is out. And then it's patchwork quilt back there now. You've got the veteran Harrison Smith at safety. He's the leader of that group. Cam Bynum, I like him, the other safety, but they've got to be better in coverage. But that also, what's your pass rush like? You got to put pressure on the quarterback, because if you don't, it doesn't matter who's back there covering these fleet-feeted wide receivers. In today's rules, you got no choice or no chance.
And you got the gimmick kickoff coming up.
Oh, goody. Another Roger Goodell invention designed to take the game into the dark ages. My goodness. Let things be.
Yeah, they can't get over themselves, man.
No. And now we found out, not earlier this month, the NFL is a $190 billion corporation.
190
The NFL
billion.
is more powerful than Coca-Cola or Delta or Pepsi or
How about 90% of the
U.S. Steel?
90% of the countries on the planet?
Yeah, basically. If the NFL were a country, it would have a gross national product higher than most other nations.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't mess with the Shield.
No. We're going to talk some baseball coming up.
All right, fair enough. We'll chat with Terry Ryan, who used to be the GM of the Minnesota Twins, here on 10K Takes. Your NFL ticket.
Get away to Lakeville, Minnesota, where your family will have tons of outdoor fun. Come for the nature and stay for the thrills. Bring the bikes, swimsuits, fishing poles, and walking shoes, as Lakeville boasts trails, lakes, and beaches. Plan your itinerary at visitlakeville.org today.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're fabulous.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Welcome back. Minnesota scores 10,000 takes, and we're going to talk some more baseball right now. Our friend Terry Ryan, the former Twins general manager, two-time Twins general manager, now in the Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame, recently inducted down at Target Field. Terry, first of all, congratulations, and talk about what that ceremony meant to you and what, in being inducted into the Twins Hall of Fame, what it meant to you personally to get that honor.
Well, it was a tremendous achievement. Minnesota Twins, they can do that with the best of them. When they bring their alumni back, they treat them well, and a lot of them showed up. Some of them for Stelly, some of them for me, but it means a lot to go in with guys like Killebrew and Crew and those types of guys. Those are the elite of the game, Hall of Famers in Cooperstown. And I can't tell you what a privilege it is to get into this hall with the Twins. I wasn't exactly sure with a tough little exit. It was a little difficult for me to think that I'm all of a sudden going to go in the fame, and it happened. I was very happy.
So, and I believe it's Rodney who makes the call, who tells the individual, you're now in the hall for the Minnesota Twins. So when you hear that phone conversation with number 29, Rod Carew, what are you thinking?
Not bad. Not bad. When Rod calls, you pick up the phone, I can tell you. And Dustin Morse was on there, and Dave St. Peter was on the call. And I didn't really realize that I was even eligible, so I started to listen to Rod, and all of a sudden he says, we're going to induct you into the Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame. I said, Rod, that is music to my ears. Thanks for the call. And I was very appreciative. When you hear Peru, that's pretty good.
As you look back at your time with the Twins, what was some of your top memories?
Well, most of them were in the mid-2000s, early 2000s. We had a tough go in the 90s in the contraction business, and our payroll was small at that time, and we lost Herbeck and Puckett and so forth, Shane Mack and some of the guys that you'd like to think were going to play in 94, 5, 6. And then I went over to Carl Pollad's house in the late 90s, and we had lost 95 or 6, 7 games. And I told him we had a decent year because you could start to see the thing coming together with Hunter and Przynski and Koski and Guzman and some of those guys when we started to get into the 2000s. In 2002, it all did come together, and we had a heck of a year. And we had a pretty good go there for about 6, 7, 8 years in the 2000s. That's probably the best stretch. And then I came back and we struggled again. So it was a couple different areas that we worked through, but it was a tremendous career for me.
All right. So you brought up AJ, you brought up Torrey. I know AJ said the other day, hey, I'd like a shot at managing. Chicago White Sox may be looking for somebody in the offseason. And then Torrey, now in the front office with the LA Angels. And I think he sat at your knee for a while and said, I want to be a GM someday. Am I right?
Yeah, he was dancing around that front office quite a bit. And AJ is a good baseball man. Both those guys would be good baseball men. I think Torrey might have interviewed for the Angels job last winter, and they gave it to Ron Washington. But he's over there now in the front office, and I think he's got Perry Minasian's ear over there. And AJ seems to have his name out there for the White Sox job. I'm sorry that an ex-twin, Pedro Grifol, it didn't work out for him. And they've got some work to do there, but AJ probably is going to get an interview for that Chicago job down there.
I know you probably have what you think might be your best transaction move in that span, particularly in the early 2000s. I like to think the Joe Nathan trade was. Your thoughts?
I would concur with that. There was another deal that we made that turned our season around, and that was Shannon Stewart.
Oh,
we
yes.
were going nowhere that season. Right around the All-Star break, I think we lost like 13 in a row. We made the deal with Shannon Stewart and sent Bobby Kilty to Toronto, and we won a lot of games after the All-Star break and got into postseason. If you're looking for a big trade, there's no doubt that Joe Nathan and Bonzer and Liriano coming over for AJ was a good trade, and it helped us in ensuing years, obviously. But, there were Lou Ford for Hector Carrasco. All right. Nobody thinks much about something like that, but that was a good trade. We had a few of those. Bartlett for Buchanan, that was a good trade. And I also had some that didn't work out. I won't bring those out.
Man, we don't blame you.
No, we'll avoid that topic. And you're too classy of a guy, Terry, to throw shade on your peers. But where are you on analytics, pitch counts, managing with your gut? Because the game has radically changed.
Yeah, there's no doubt, Eric. Analytics, I'm good with. That's a good opportunity to get another department to make baseball decisions. I'm all for analytics, but you have to have, for me, both sides. You have to have feet on the ground as well. And I always like to have scouts out there. And then you can mesh the two together. You make quality decisions. Pitch counts, I'm a little less on. I've never really believed in that type of thing. I'm more of a guy that if you're managing that club or you're pitching coach, you take everything into consideration. And some guys can go 115 pitches, and some guys can't. All the thing, I kind of like the pitch clock because the game started to slow down too much, way too much. And it got boring to the point where you got 3.5-hour games and they're 3-2. I like the fact that all of a sudden you've got a 3-2 game, just like the other night at the Hall of Fame induction. That game was 1 hour and 58 minutes. It was unbelievable how quick that's one game I wish would have lasted a lot longer.
Yeah, your Hall of Fame night didn't last as long as it should have.
No, I didn't even get around to see all the people that came back. It was unbelievable how fast
They're already out the exits.
Yeah.
Since we're on the subject of some of the rules and things that have changed, you mentioned pitch clock. Are there things do you like the idea of them going to this automatic ball and strike zone? I've heard both sides of this. What are your thoughts on that? Because it potentially could be with us as soon as, if not next year, the following year.
Yeah, I think it's about 2 years out. And I've seen it in person, and it's not too bad. They got to get the curveball where when it drops in the dirt, it's not going to be a strike. And I've seen that called a strike. So that's got to be cleaned up. But east-west, it's pretty good. And I like the fact that in AAA now, the hitter gets a chance to challenge. And that has worked out pretty good. So I think probably in a couple of years, you're going to see that.
You have done work with Philadelphia as well. As you look at kind of the galaxy of stars today, the Shoheis, the Aaron Judges, Bryce Harper, up and coming, Royce Lewis, Bobby Witt Jr., is the game in good hands? And can MLB market these guys? Because they are elite.
Yeah, there's some good players out there, and Witt's a fantastic talent, and Royce is a fantastic talent, and Ohtani's the best player in the game and probably has been for a few years. Judge, obviously, they can market Judge. It's always good to have the Yankees have the best player in the American League, so there are players out there they can market.
What do you like about this 2024 Minnesota Twins team? And what do you think that is going to me, it's going to be staying healthy because I think they have a lot of the pieces, but they just got to keep guys on the field. What are your thoughts about the 2024 Twins?
Well, they got to get Correa back at short. They need to keep Buxton in center, and they need to keep Lewis over at third. And just as you say, Wally, if they're healthy, they've got a good offense. They've got enough catching. They've got the guy at second, Brooks Lee, when he's healthy now, if we can get him back. And certainly Santana's been a good addition. Kepler's plenty good, and they can fill in with Wallner or a bunch of those guys in left field. Their pitching staff all of a sudden hurt, and that's not good. They've lost Stewart now, and they lost Ryan and Paddock. They've lost people, but they keep bringing guys up that either surprise or are good enough to get you to the fifth or sixth inning. I think they've got a chance to catch Cleveland myself.
And Terry, you mentioned Shannon Stewart. I remember that acquisition. It was lightning in a bottle. He eventually had plantar fasciitis, and it sidelined him for a while. Now Carlos Correa dealing with the same thing, back-to-back years, left and right foot. When you think about what Shannon went through, translate it into what Carlos is going through. Let our viewers know. This is not an easy thing to play with, is it?
No, it isn't. That plantar fasciitis is very painful. Now, there's two different things here. Correa's playing on dirt, grass, and Shannon was on the turf. That made a big difference, in my opinion. It's tough to play on artificial turf when you've got that, but I think he'll be back. It sounds like he might be back in the next, week or so. And he, on his behalf, the guy knows how to take care of his body, so he's certainly not coddling this thing. He's got a problem, and he's going to have to either get healthy enough where he can play with it or through it, but they need him back, in my opinion. He's a very talented guy.
Yeah, no question. Well, Terry, again, congratulations on being inducted into the Twins Hall of Fame. I know it was a special day for you and your family and the Twins organization, and congratulations. And we hope to talk to you again soon and keep you in the loop with us.
Appreciate it. I'd like to talk to you two guys. You've always treated me well.
Yeah,
you can be our October MLB analyst.
There
Terry.
we go.
You can put on the blue blazer next time too. Those things are sharp.
Yeah. I think that thing fit me better than that suit I was wearing.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Terry. Here's Terry Ryan, the two-time Twins general manager and now in the Twins Hall of Fame. Right here on 10,000 Takes. We're back with more after this timeout. Stay with us.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Finding the ideal place to stay is important for business travelers. Lakeville, Minnesota is conveniently located off I-35, just south of the Twin Cities with a variety of hotel choices. Lakeville offers convenient amenities such as shopping, walking trails, golf, and more. Our unique meeting spaces, historic downtown, live music, and over 60 dining options are sure to impress. Book your next stay in Lakeville and experience convenience, comfort, and quality. Find your perfect hotel at visitlakeville.org.
Welcome back. Minnesota scores 10,000 takes. Okay. We just heard Terry Ryan talk about some of the changes in Major League Baseball, particularly the one that he likes is the pitch clock. And I've kind of grown to like that, too. I was not on board right away, but heck, it moves games along. As he said, that 1 hour and 58-minute game the Twins played last about a week and a half ago. But there are things I don't like that they've done in Major League Baseball. In particular, I hate putting a guy on second to start extra innings. At minimum, they should move that to like the 12th inning or so. I don't like the fact you point to first base for an intentional. This is not softball. This is not Little League. You don't point to first base. And then, not being able to throw over to first base more than 3 times or it's a balk. I mean, just all these cockamamie rules that just are totally unnecessary. You got the pitch clock. You don't need all that. So, but baseball isn't the only sport that has undergone a lot of changes. And baseball has become, as we watched in that Minnesota-Cleveland series a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago now, it's time. A lot of it's all or nothing, home run or strikeout. And I don't care for that much either. Yeah.
It's a boom or bust mindset in
Right.
Major League Baseball. And I certainly am not a huge fan of the analytics. Terry says you need to balance both, and that's in today's game. I can see that point. But if you go all in and you're tethered to the computer and the pitch count, and you don't manage with your gut, I think it ruins the natural flow of the sport. The NHL is probably the only major sport that hasn't really made the significant changes.
Right.
It's stuck to its core, with the exception of possibly outlawing those brawls that used to be common on a nightly basis. Still some fighting, but not like it used to be. I think the NFL is the one I don't recognize anymore. I mean, the NFL became this juggernaut because of less is more. It used to be that you knew the games were on Sunday. There'd be a Monday game. Late in the season, you'd have some Saturday games, and you'd have 2, now we have 3, on Thanksgiving. That was it. They didn't tinker with that formula. It was a great blueprint because the average Joe gets up and goes to work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and they want to look forward to the weekend. And even when they come home on a Monday that they dread going back to work, they've got Monday Night Football.
Right.
Well, the NFL's tinkering with that. They're too greedy. They got to have more. Now we have Thursday Night Football. I've never met a fan who says they're thrilled there's Thursday Night Football. And certainly the athletes don't want it. And the NFL's going more toward indoor games. It's just glorified arena football.
It is.
They want cartoon-like numbers. It's all passing. And it sickens me that they've taken the running game out of the equation. I grew up watching some of the outstanding running backs. You did too. Walter Payton, Chuck Foreman. I mean, on and on it goes. Franco Harris, the Juice, Eric Dickerson. And those guys would have very little value today.
Yeah, running backs are becoming a thing of the past as far as being an integral part of the
And that's just because
offense.
of rule changes.
Yeah. And in the NBA, I still like the NBA, but I don't like it as much as I used to. I long for the days of the 80s and into the 90s of Jordan and Bird and Magic and so on, when the 3-ball was not as big as it is now. Everybody's shooting 3-pointers now. I mean, they just come down and jack up a 3.
And that's only going to be that's going to grow with Steph's Olympic
performance in the
Games
Olympics?
performance.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
going to be even more global now.
Yeah, so there are changes. Very few I like, but there are a lot that just keep changing the way we view sports.
And how
That's
about
for
no
sure.
more load management in sports?
Yeah, boy, that's for sure. All right. Takes of the day coming up next. You won't want to miss that. You're watching 10,000 Takes. Stay with us.
Let your adventure begin in Lakeville, Minnesota. We have over 90 places to grab a bite to eat, and we're close to the Mall of America, Valley Fair, and the Minnesota Zoo, plus hotel packages and great rates. Visit Lakeville. We're serious about fun all year round.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earrings. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
10K Takes on television as we wrap up yet another episode. Big shout out to the viewers in the Twin Cities who are tuning us in. That would be St. Paul, Minneapolis, maybe even Hudson, Wisconsin. That's part of the metro.
Very possible.
Yeah. All right, are you going to make those people in Hudson upset with your mood? Tell us, how are you feeling today?
Well, we'll see. So it wasn't that long ago, about 2 weeks ago, that the Star Tribune ran an article written by Bobby Nightingale, the Star Tribune's Twins beat writer, that the Minnesota Twins are looking to see what they want to do with their radio rights beginning next season. Now, of course, they've been on WCCO here for the last, 7 or 8 years. Before that, they were with CCO from like the very beginning until like 2008 or 2009, right? And then they bounced around a little bit, found their home back at CCO. Look, I don't care whether they're on CCO or they find another radio station. What I do care about, make sure you are on traditional radio. Don't put them on the internet or on some app or something where you got to fumble with your phone in order to listen to the games on the radio. I know you're catering to that 20 and 30-year-old crowd that goes down there on Friday and Saturday nights for the beer party. But look, there are those of us who drive around in vehicles who want to turn the game on the radio. There are those of us who work out in a garage that want to turn the game on the radio. So keep your games on some kind of radio station in the Twin Cities metro. Don't cut us off just because we're over the age of 30, please.
Okay, thank you, Marconi. Let's check the mood meter. Oh, yeah, he's pinning the orange. He's a grumpy party. This is just,
it's just dumb. I mean, the Timberwolves did that this past season, and most of their games weren't on the radio, and they had their best season since 2004. I mean, it's just dopey. Get them on the radio.
What did Bob Dylan sing? The times are a-changing?
Well, yeah.
They are.
Well,
maybe not to your liking.
Well, Dave St. Peter even said that radio does bring them revenue. So, okay, find a station.
They'll be looking.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll talk about the Minnesota Twins, too. A couple of weeks ago, Guardians and Twins had a 4-game series at trendy Target Field.
Yes,
so I took my kid to one of the games. I bought him a ticket. And you know how it is these days. You can take a flight somewhere, stay in a hotel, get a rental car, even go to the bank. A few days later, you get an email from, we'll just say Delta. And they want you to take a survey and rate their performance. Well, the Minnesota Twins are no different. A couple days after the ball game, I get an email. Can you take the survey? They even warned me it'd be 10 to 12 minutes. I said, oh, boy. Okay, I'll do it. And so I start clicking on and answering questions. And I gave them a glowing review. I love the ballpark, all that good stuff. But half the questions were about safety. Did I feel safe? And I want to debunk the myth that downtown Minneapolis is unsafe. I go there a lot. You do too.
Yeah.
The day the Raiders and Vikings played at the House of Noise, and later on that night it was Guardians Twins, almost 100,000 sports fans came to Minneapolis.
And nobody died.
Everybody survived.
Yeah.
So the Twins, though, are fighting this narrative, this false narrative put out by certain people that you can't go downtown anymore. And they're worried about it. I could tell in the survey. Well, let me tell you. Every time I go to downtown Minneapolis, and I don't get a cushy parking spot. The Twins don't give us a parking spot in the media.
They don't.
I walk 8 blocks through the city to get to the venue. You do the same thing. My point is, Minneapolis is safe. It's rebounding. It's gone through problems, but it's rebounding. Don't believe that narrative that you can't go downtown. It's a bunch of bunk.
Yeah. Debunk.
Right. Yeah. Let's FedEx out those thank yous. Rocky, David Will, Paul Langfellow, Terry Ryan. For Wally, I'm Eric, saying so long. This is 10K Takes Your Sports Ticket.